Chair roll. I'll call a meeting to order. First order of business is to approve the minutes from September 29th.
So, move we approve as presented.
Is there anyone have any other changes, I think?
Also,
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. All right, we have a sort of semi-almost final version of the CIP in front of us. And I guess I just want to see if we decided not to meet last week and meet this week, just to give us time to look at this and make sure that this is what we wanted, or if there's any changes or things we wanted to talk about doing.
OJ, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
When you said sort of semi, whatever, are we all talking about the one that's entitled ending in 2020-09-29? Is that the correct version?
No.
No,
All right, well, that's the one I just received.
you should have,
It should be October 15.
it
It
should
should
be,
say on the top, it should say
October
October 15, 2020.
Yeah, well,
Of the first page, page 22, Mark, should have October 15th at the top.
at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I think I opened the wrong file. Okay, that's right, now I got it. Thank you very much, sorry about
Okay.
that.
And by final, almost semi sort of final, what I implied was that we've gone through every budget, we've made changes, we've talked to the department heads, and we've come up with a bottom line number that is about $20,000 over what we appropriated last year. But it's $125,000 under that target amount that we sort of go by, just as a guide. And,
my only comment on that,
Yeah.
Jay, is, and I've been thinking a lot about it, is we have stuck to, since I've been here, the 3%. That's, we carried, that was actually, I think, built in by John Hettinger back. So that's a little, in today's world, that's a little aggressive. What I was thinking was, what if we took for this year 2%, which would be more in line with Northeast computer price index, inflate the number by 2%, it would cut some of the, as far as a target, and then look at, I hate to go, well, it's very attractive to go down that much. We will, at some point, if we can be consistent with this CIP and as far as inflation numbers, we've asked the department has to be as close as we can, and they have. But I think if we stick with that, we'll have the town will still stay with that consistent or relatively consistent number, and our capital projects can continue on. And maybe we could do it by pushing some monies out more, deferred out more years of something.
what are you thinking the 2% should be based on?
I would say 2% on what we did last, because we've always gone off the approved number for last year. We've always gone 3% on it. That's, since I've been here, that's what we've started, and we've bumped up and down a little bit, and we can change that.
Actual.
What-
Well,
unless, correct me, but if you go to the last page, and our targets were based on our actual funded in 2020, for instance, was 1,376,670.
yeah, but look below that where it says the target for last year was 1,400, so we were 100,000 under the target last year.
That's true.
Well, 99,318.
Right.
But for a couple of years, we've been under the target. And maybe we need to reset the target.
I know, but I think it's a good conversation. I think because it is philosophical. It relates to actual numbers for certain, but I think for consistency and we certainly have projects in here that are important. So I don't know. I just throw it out there. 125,000 is, I think I don't think we should be that far under. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Where are you getting 125?
Well, right now, we're
Yeah.
under, from last year's thing, Paul, if you look down
From
at the
projected,
From the
projected,
target,
scoop.
target.
from the target of 1.5.
Well, I think the target is just like the rest of the numbers, it's
It's a target.
it's moving, it's a target, that's why they call it a target. It's something that goes up and down depending upon whether you're in relatively hard times, depending upon the financial climate of the economy of the town. So for me, that's what that target number is. I'd like to ask the question at the last meeting. I thought we asked for the department heads to come back and present us with, bring us to a level fund with last year. How was that done?
Well, we asked them if they had, we were looking to lower it back
Well,
to what we did last year.
we said
Were
we
there
could
any-
do that.
Were there any suggestions? We said we could do it or they could do it.
Right.
And I don't know if you've had any suggestions come back from.
The department, I mean, they looked it over and feel that they're on target. I mean,
I certainly think we can make some adjustments.
Well, I'll
We're
tell you,
only, we're looking at about 18 grand, 18,273 difference, I think, between target last year and this
right,
year.
right.
So-
Now,
And I think that we can find that in here.
Right.
well, this is what I came up with. If we look at, whoops, I marked it on, look at the wrong sheet. On page 25, under Public Works Equipment, line 61, 61, replace the International dump truck.
well,
See, I was looking at the loader, the snow blower attachment. There's $40,000 in that. I mean,
I guess I was thinking if we took that dump truck and took the $18,000 out of that this year and added 9 to next year and 9 to the following year, we could still buy it at the same year, the same time as we are planning now, and we'd match that 18,000 would bring us down to what we did last year.
why don't we take, I'd be in favor of maybe doing that. Why don't we only take part out of that, part out of the snow blower attachment? Because the snow blower attachment has 40,000 in it. So, I mean, between the two there, we could certainly make that change.
So maybe take 10 out of one and 8 out of the
where
other.
do you get 40? I don't see the
CIP recommended 2020 line 103.
103. This one shows,
One I got shows
But they're trying
$40,000.
to buy that blower
They-
in 21, I
right.
think, next year.
Because they have to take the snow off the street in some places.
so they, yeah.
Well, that's,
And I got 150. I don't see.
look, I think we moved that.
Oh,
up.
wait a minute, I see it out. No, we were gonna put, in mine, it's, we were recommending putting 40 in there.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And then it's gonna be another 35 next year, so we're gonna, instead of moving it out to 2022, it's gonna be moved up to 2023. So, or increase 2022, depending upon the financial climate.
Well, I was trying to do something that didn't involve pushing out beyond when, like, keep the
weren't
same
gonna buy it.
schedule.
They weren't gonna buy it in 2022 because we're gonna have to put some money in. In 2022, you're gonna have to put in 35,000 anyway to get it. And that wouldn't happen until after the town meeting, so that would be March, which would be the end of 2022.
Right?
So you wouldn't get it that year anyway.
Yeah, but if you put it out another year, you wouldn't get it that year because of the same theory. You wouldn't appropriate it till March, and so it's still out another year.
Yeah,
Um,
I got a
But,
hard
but
time with that.
here's the other way I was looking at it, though, that if we look next year, right now as we sit, okay, is already, round numbers, $75,000 over this year.
I'm sorry, try that again?
Next year,
2022.
2022,
Right,
is already $75,000 above
this year.
this year. And then the following year is $50,000 above. So we've already pushed
Yeah.
money out into next year, 22 and 23. It's not till 24 where there's a number that's lower, and it's only lower by $30,000. So you can't tell me that in the next 3 years, there's not going to be a $30,000 thing that comes up that
We
needs
need
to go
talk
into
about
that year.
That's for sure.
What's that?
So I'd like to have a discussion about that.
About
I
what?
think the things that come up, like last year and this year, we had $200,000 projects that were unplanned in the CIP. And I think we need to get better at, not us, but the department heads, managers, whatever, directors, whatever. So we need to get better at planning those types of, looking forward, trying to find those, digging and seeing what issues we have and addressing them so we don't keep coming up with these, okay, we need $100,000, so let's take it away from this one, let's take it away from that. That doesn't do the CIP any good,
Right.
even though it's a moving target, and I understand that no one has a crystal ball, I understand all of that, but, you know.
But getting back to the point you're making is by the time we get to 2024, especially if we do what you're saying, we're gonna have another $30,000, so we're gonna be back above where we're at right now. So we don't have any room in this CIP budget to like push money out until we get into 2025. I guess,
Hey, OJ, can you, and I agree, can you explain what you're gonna do on the dump truck again?
well,
What you propose, I mean, what you would suggest?
let me finish. What
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
saying,
sorry.
what I'm saying now is that we could push the dump truck or the snow blower out into next year or the year after. But all that's gonna do is take money
Right,
that we're, take 20, it's only $20,000 this year that we're over what we spent the year before. We're gonna put that out into 2 more years where we're $50,000 and $75,000 over what we spent last year. So.
But conversely, we've increased some other ones so that we could do them, like the paving projects and things like that, that have been done this year too. So those numbers like Rio de Janeiro, like Maple Street, like all those things, we pushed those ahead. So, I mean, those monies are.
yeah, we won't be funding those in the future because.
Right, but this budget is showing no funding for those because
Yes,
this
I know.
budget knows that those are done.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we have made progress, but we're gonna have to start either, delaying projects if we're gonna either keep those numbers the same or bring them down. Again, it's a $75,000 increase in 2022 over this year as it sits right now, and then 50 over this in 2023. I just don't see any real value in trying to save $20,000 this year and pushing those out into years that have already higher budgets. So even though I had thought about the dump truck and yeah, we could do the snow blower for the $20,000 increase, I think we should leave it.
I agree.
I agree. Let me ask, actually, Ron sitting here. We did so the currently in the command vehicle line in the fire,
What page are you on?
I'm on page, excuse me,
You did.
23. CIPC,
20,000 this year.
yeah.
I'd have to get the individual sheet.
We
You went over that, right?
not much, we did, but not a lot. What I'm trying to say is, he's good for years now. He's good for, what are you thinking? Probably
10 years.
Probably 10
Right,
years.
but the 20 we're putting in 2021
There's nothing scheduled for the next.
is to
Yeah.
reimburse that fund for what was taken out in 2020.
But is that the exact, my question, I don't have notes for it, but I don't know, is that the exact number we need to zero it out, or
Oh,
is there extra in it? That's what I'm saying.
was it over 40?
Yeah, I think we went over like $1,800 or something.
$1,800, and I think he took it out of his operating budget. So what I'm saying is, we could adjust.
He's already spent that
He's
money.
already spent it.
That's spent.
He's already
He spent
I think
over-
we-
Got it.
Spent over.
Got it,
over that
got
amount.
it. Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Okay, so did
Well,
we,
Jay, I understand what
did
you're
we
saying,
make a
like,
decision on 61, line 61?
we haven't made a decision.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So just, all right.
Right, so we'll go back to what, page 25?
Well,
OJ, I understand what you're saying about, it's not necessarily a big amount of money that we're talking about to move this out, but I think in this economic time, I think to look at, to show the taxpayers that we're trying to be responsive to the hard economic times, and we don't even know what's coming up with this COVID rising again. There could be a lot more people out of work. Everybody, no one has the crystal ball, but I think if we can come level with last year, we'll at least stave off, any comments about increases. And I really think it puts a good positive message that we're listening, we're seeing what the economic climate is, and we're reacting to it. I know it's not much, especially when you consider what $18,000 on tax rate is. It's not much. I understand all of that, but when you look at the social picture of presenting this, I just think that if we stay as close to last year's number that we did, I think it reflects well on the town.
Does anybody
There's a
have,
lot of people that are out of work, or maybe if this COVID thing comes back this winter, and they close the town hall or restaurants or.
coming back, unfortunately. Does anybody have notes on when Tara, the replacing playground equipment at the Kank, we're scheduled to put in $8,000 in. Was there something really seriously defective? I don't recall her presentation. That would be $8,000 there. That we could just push it up, go to 2024. You know what I'm saying?
But I think what OJ's saying, and he's got about pushing it out just means that if we push the $8,000 out there, then it goes, we push it out.
It does, but what you have to do is we're hoping
that we
the
can increase it.
economy's gonna turn. I mean, you gotta be a little optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not all gloom and doom. And this winter, hopefully, we've got hotels and stuff that are watching the economic turn, and they still want to build. I mean, so there's hope out there. I mean, we gotta,
Well, I think
we gotta
we
be
should
positive a little bit.
They do, but we also have tons of new houses being
Tons.
built.
We've got
Tons.
5 or 6 inquiries in the last week and a half. Brand new homes that they're fleeing the city.
Over on South Peak, right?
Right, they're fleeing the city, and it doesn't matter. There's Lincoln, I think, is very fortunate. I mean, so our tax base isn't going to shrink. Unemployment, yep, there's going to be a difference there, but
that's the thing that gets me. That's hard to make a decision on, is because when you have the people who are in a different economic.
I haven't heard from Mark. Let's hear from Mark.
Different economic sectors, but the low
Yeah,
people.
I was waiting for something like that. That's okay.
We haven't heard from Mark. I think
The people in the lower income brackets are the ones that
I got
hit the hardest. And people who are in the higher income brackets are going to be able to do what they want to do anyway. It's the people who are in the lower income brackets that are going to get hit the hardest. And that's unfortunately fact of life.
Mark, what are your thoughts?
I think that if you have a $20,000 overrun and a $1.5 million, 1.47 whatever $million budget to spend a half an hour or 45 minutes talking about whether to fund it next year or the year after is a waste of time. I think that I understand Paul's point. I agree with the concern for the people who don't have as much income as others. I've voiced that concern many, many times in more relevant circumstances. This is not how you solve that problem, in my opinion. And I've voiced my opinion about how you deal with that problem in areas where it could have more impact. This is not going to have any substantial impact on that. That's my opinion. I think we should deal with a $20,000 shortfall in some meaningful way. It's a shortfall. You can't pretend it's not there. I think OJ is 100% correct by saying it is what it is, leave it where it is and deal with it in some fashion. The tax base is increasing, as Butch puts it. It's going to increase more than anybody has mentioned. However, the economic downturn is very real. And this is my opinion, you asked. The impact of the virus on our economy has been consistently denied and understated, and you know by who and for what reasons. It is absolutely going to whack us in the face like a cold, wet, smelly 3-day-old fish, and it's going to hit hard and last longer than we think. The vaccines are not going to be as effective nor as early available as everybody is counting on. That is not the way to deal with this thing. We have no plan and no method of dealing with it, unlike many other people. And we're going to pay for that. And that's not going to be solved by buying a snowblower in 2023 instead of in 2022. We're going to have to deal with those issues some other way. And we've ignored that when we dealt with the water and the sewer issue in terms of how we structure payments. And there's a whole wide range of opinions on that. But it's dealing with the payment, the tax payments and the tax assessment issues that we're going to have to make adjustments in terms of who pays the taxes. And I'm all for putting the burden on the people who can pay it. And that would be a bigger solution to the problem than what we have been talking about, which is pretending that we don't have a $20,000 expense. If you want the base to grow, which everybody I think does, I don't know if that's true or not, but many people want the base to grow. If you are in favor of the base growing, then you have to clear the streets. You have to blow the snow somewhere else. Otherwise the base will not grow as fast after a while. It takes a long time for inputs like that to reflect from the market. I think we should maintain the town properly. I think we should spend the money that we have to spend. If we have a growing tax base, it means that our expenditures have got to grow to some extent in order to maintain the town properly. And we have to allocate money for that. And we have to do it in a reasonable manner. I mean, I sit on commercial boards day in and day out. I sit on a multi-billion-dollar board, and I will tell you that nobody would tolerate a discussion for a fraction of a percent of the budget that lasted this long at a board like that, because they have business to do and they have to get it done. And so do we. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well said.
I'm still where I'm at.
Well, that's
I mean,
good points. It's all good points. It's just,
They're all good points.
They're all good
I mean, I
points, so-
understand why it is.
so I
Unfortunately, those people,
think
Mark's on
other
the
than
board.
those comments, OJ, I think everybody's done a yeoman's job of, I think you're gonna see a nearly, with the exception of areas that have to go up, flat budgets coming in to the regular. That's what I've asked for, and that's what you're gonna see. Unfortunately, legal's gonna have to go up substantially.
Legal and union are,
Union is fixed. I mean, we know that, so that's all built in. Other than that, unless John has seen more than I have, but they're coming in flat or a little under. Most of them are flat, pretty much. There's been a couple of areas that we can probably, I haven't looked at them all yet, but that's the plan. I mean, I don't know, so.
you can vote it.
We could,
I'm gonna vote.
Well,
no.
again, if there's projects in here that we think either don't need to be done or don't need to be done under the time frame,
Well,
I
there are
think
some.
that's an effective way to deal with this. But just to take money out of this year and throw it into years where it's going to be a bigger problem is not solving the problem, it's kicking the can.
So, right, and I agree, but
Well, things like-
going down through these things, I mean, if I take a look at,
Roads and
example-
streets is a good one. If we could, people could, I gotta be honest, we're almost there. We're almost to the point of starting to have to do, when I got here years ago, Pollard Road was, so we're almost there. So we don't have a lot of streets now that haven't been done. And so,
I mean, the
We could
library,
start-
when we talked about the library, the technology, I mean, it's only $2,000, granted, but it's only 2,000. She said she didn't see the need, that they weren't gonna need that technology for a little while, but they want to put the money in there. So, when I hear things like that, I think, well, and I know we did a damn good job trimming and asking the department heads and but I'd like to see that number be the same as last year, and I think we can do that. I know Mark doesn't agree with looking at $20,000 on a 1.5, but the people that he's on those boards with are all very wealthy businessmen. If they were all the underprivileged, I'm sure they would be looking at $20,000.
No, that's not my point, Paul. I'm sorry, but that's not my point. My point is not that $20,000 doesn't mean anything. My point is that you can't let the tail wag the dog, and number one, and that you can't take essential expenses. I mean, when you're talking about a snow blower and you're talking about a dump truck that has multiple uses for maintaining the town, if you want the town, the real issue is, do you want the town to be well maintained and to attract the people who will broaden the tax base? It's not a question of allocation of costs. And you are conflating those two things, and that does not help solve the problem. The 20,000 is meaningful. It's just that it's not the center. OJ's analysis is correct. You can't pretend it's not there by pushing it to a later year.
Well, we can say that about everything we've done, Mark. Everything that we've
No, I'm not arguing with what we've done. I've been participating in it, and you've been you've made a huge contribution to it. It's just that right now, I mean, there are structural things we could do that would decrease our annual costs well beyond the amount of considering a $20,000 out of 1.5 million is a fraction of a percent. That's all it is. And I'm not saying it's nothing, but it's also not more than what it is. And there are things that could contribute a lot more than that to the annual operating costs of the town, such as looking for bondable ways of capitalizing expenses and taking advantage of interest rates that nobody's been willing to deal with because it's a bigger undertaking. But that's how you solve these problems and keep it going, you know? Anyway.
So, for conversation purposes, I'll make a motion that we go with our projected number of $1,394,943. And that the 2020, isn't that the 2021?
Yep.
That's our bottom number, just for conversation, and I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
Mark seconds it. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I think we ought to keep it down the same as last year. That's 1,376,670. I'm not making a motion, I'm just saying that I still think we can find that in here.
All right, well, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Good.
All right, that is then
Hey, I gotta
the
say that.
budget that we're going to present to the planning board. And Carol, we talked about doing that 2 weeks from yesterday, whatever that date is, 28th?
Yeah.
October 28th.
October 28th.
Okay.
So
we don't need to make any changes
Set up Zoom for that.
at this time.
Yep.
Should be good. to
No, I haven't made, I don't have anything else scheduled for that, but there possibly will be a conceptual on that same date,
Just let me
so.
know when it's set up.
It would be
So the
good
28th at 6 o'clock.
if the sooner we get this to the planning
Yeah,
board
we
and
should
back,
set
then
it up.
we'll
Rob.
know what that,
And so, yeah,
They
yeah,
got-
we-
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
hopefully, as a sidebar, Joe's emergency, was it a car accident? Or he was
No.
charged?
No.
His
Just personal.
his son-in-law has had ALS.
Oh,
Oh, brother-in-law.
Guys,
Oh, brother-in-law.
have you
No,
adjourned?
son-in-law.
oh, no, wait a minute.
No, his
We
son-in-law.
haven't adjourned yet. have we?
So anyway, let's talk about that off.
Okay.
Anyway, is there anything else then that the CIP needs to discuss?
Can we go back for a minute? We've carried the 3%. There's been just
Oh,
to
so we
see
want to
it.
reset the?
Well, I'm just asking. In other words, in this world, should we reset the target percentage? You need it, I believe you need it as a philosophical something, so you have a target. We've kept it at 3%, which is in today's world a little aggressive. Is there any thought of making as
I
a
mean, I think
target?
it is
that
what it is,
lower?
just like this year. It is what it is. You do your best. Some years it's gonna go up, some years it's gonna go, I don't know that it's ever gone down, but it mostly goes up, so.
Yeah, well, it was 3% when I walked in here 8 years ago, and it's still 3%, and I guess. it's-
Right,
But
and if we look
but
at
it
the-
was 3%, but to be honest, as I recollect, when we walked in 8 years ago, the Northeast CIP was in the four
Force.
percent or
Right,
something
right.
like that, so.
And don't forget, the number we just voted in is $125,000 below that 3%. And that started back in 2012,
12, it had to be,
14?
because that's when I came in
2012.
October 2012.
So it's been going at 3% and we're running under it.
Yeah,
I think it's a good target.
But if we reset right now and then say 3%, we're already over next year's budget that we just approved here.
we're already
We're
over.
already over 3% of what we just raised for 2021.
See, I mean,
So we'll be doing
so-
some massaging.
And in good economic times, maybe we go over some. And that's
Well,
not-
I got to agree with Mark. I think that we're in la la land here in a little bit, that, you know, we're saying, oh, we're going to get a vaccine and everybody's going to be fine. The economy's going to be roaring back, and that's not how I'm putting my money, I'll tell you that.
I have not seen it.
Well,
think it's-
I couldn't agree more, but I gotta tell you what, I mean, what I've seen this summer is there's the people who are doing great, and then the other side of that coin is people who aren't doing good at all. And there's no in between. There's no in between.
And that's going to increase, and that's true, and that's going to increase because that's the direction that we are being taken in, and that's not a good thing. I totally agree with you.
I was just gonna say that.
We can't solve that problem by saving money on snow blowers.
Say
Best
that's
we can do is stay the course.
that problem.
Well, I agree. I mean, that's why, you know, I'm not looking to whack anything. I agree 100%. Stay the course.
It's like
Stay level and say, we're gonna
We
do our
just gotta
best.
thread a needle. We try to thread the needle.
Because
But
what,
we gotta take care of infrastructure.
the worst,
You don't want your town to fall apart.
Yeah.
You don't. That's low hanging fruit, and it's always the first thing to go for, but you can't. You keep your town.
a lot of those people who come and vote in March might be the people that are affected by it the greatest. And they could be the ones that say, let's cut another 300,000 out of the budget. You know, and then where you're gonna
That
be.
never happens again.
What's that?
Let's hope that never happens again.
Well.
But anyway,
Well, if
I'm just saying,
It could.
you know, but anyway.
But that, just an opinion, we have like 168 new registered voters in this town. If all of a sudden they begin to engage and they're expecting
We
a
don't know,
certain
yeah.
level of service, that could be the tipping on this whole budgeting process, because they're coming from the city expecting a lot more than what we're currently at.
This
So-
town's going through a tipping point. You're exactly right.
Across the country, you're seeing 3 and 4 hour waiting lines to vote. They're getting millions of people showing up that have never voted before. They've been the silent majority. We don't know where that's going. That's going to happen here too.
Yeah.
And you don't know, I think Mark will probably agree. I mean, so we got to stay the course. I think that's,
I mean,
I think that's.
I don't think we need to make anything get worse. But we're at, you look where Lincoln is.
So we're very fortunate.
We're fortunate with our tax base, but we're very unfortunate with our water, our sewer, some of our infrastructure things are lagging behind.
There's a can that's been kicked down the road, and we're
Yeah.
going to deal with it. I think there's
we're
plans
plans to
coming.
deal with it. I'm
We're going
not,
to deal with it.
I don't think we're in worse shape than a lot of other towns.
No.
I don't compare myself to other towns. I just
Well, you
look at
just said Lincoln's in
bad shape.
that, okay.
Yeah, I just said Lincoln. I didn't say any other towns. I just said, if you take a look at I guess I look at it like this. The amount of interest in Lincoln, as far as I see, far exceeds what we can provide, what we're willing to take on at this point. There's people who want to come in and do things, and our infrastructure and our support mechanisms are not where they should be.
I think you're going to see a lot of conversation. I believe, Paul, you're going to see a lot of conversation where, coming up very shortly, where level of service is going to be at the top, and that equates to money. What is the level of service
That people want.
And that's,
And you're gonna see a divide there.
you're going to see a divide there, and it's going to be a conversation that needs to be had. And it probably should have happened a decade ago or two, maybe, but it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen.
It's a fluid situation.
It's a fluid situation.
There.
All right. We're good to go before the planning board then in 2
Yep.
weeks,
2 weeks.
and we'll all be there. So,
And as I said to the
Send out to the.
planning board last night, is tell me,
And I'll
please
send
be,
out to the
we gotta be
department heads,
flexible
so
with
they all have a
daily
copy.
changes in this COVID thing. We may be all
Or
virtual
should we not send the
again.
department heads yet?
we'll make it all happen, but just,
No, let's
you
send
know,
it to the department.
I just want
Let them know
everybody,
this
every
is what
board,
we
I'm
want
gonna
to
try to spread the word to just be flexible.
Motion to adjourn?
Um,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. I think